Hi, this is Ryan.
And this is Steve, and you are listening to 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, fixing, modding, breaking, reviewing, playing podcast.
All right, we've got a special show here, don't we, Steve?
Yep.
We have Jonathan on the line. You want to say hi?
Hey guys, this is Jonathan with TMG Guitar Company.
So today we're kind of just going to talk to you about what's going on over there. Steve talked about kind of the rumors that he had heard about your company a few episodes ago, I think right after NAMM, somewhere in there. And you reached out to us and were like, hey, if you want the full scoop, then you can talk to me. And we just finally got our schedules lined up so that we could do this thing.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, guys. Definitely, I really appreciate it.
For sure.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to let us talk to you. You know, this is big stuff for us too. So,
of course.
So, where should we start?
I guess probably we could start with how I first got involved with TMG, and we can go on from there and let you guys ask questions as we go.
Yeah,
sure.
That sounds good. I mean, you know, there's a lot of information, beef, whatever, about TMG out there, but you know, everyone's got their own piece, and obviously, as the guy who now owns it, like, you know, you've got your voice as well.
Yeah, so definitely. There's a lot of information, and I definitely appreciate being able to share a little bit of my story. A lot of it I haven't shared publicly yet. I've been a little shy because some places are a little, I guess, hard to speak up without kind of getting bullied a little bit, but
oh yeah,
understandably.
Well, there's so much information out there, and there's, you know, just so much like bad press on the internet as far as kind of surrounding the brand and the previous owners and things that were happening. Apparently, I mean, it was going on for a while, and when it was at its hottest, we had people who listened to our show asking us to talk about it, and I was like, you know, the water's so murky on this, I can't really tell what's up or down and what isn't. So we just didn't even really talk about it because it's just like, I didn't want to be repeating gossip that wasn't true, basically. So maybe we can get to, you know, address a little bit of that and then talk about what's going on now, you know?
Cool. Yeah, well, I guess from my perspective, how it all started was I also own a company called RogueGuitarShop.com. The two companies aren't related apart from the fact that Rogue became TMG's first U.S. dealer. And I was approached by their artist relations dealer guy, Donnie Garrett.
I know Donnie.
Yeah, he called me up.
I know him from the internet.
Yeah. So he called me up and was like, hey, you carry some really cool brands, a lot of high-end stuff. We were at the time carrying another brand called Kelton Suede, which is also another pretty controversial brand. If anyone's interested in checking them out. But we were carrying Kelton Suede, and he's a guy in Nashville building guitars for Keith Urban and, you know, some other big artists or whatever. But Donnie was really impressed that we had him because we were the only dealer in the U.S. for them as well. And so Donnie and I began talking, and we ended up putting an order in for 4 guitars. And this was 2013, I believe. We received the guitars in October of 2013 and ordered them in July, if I remember correctly. And after that, like, things were it was just kind of a normal dealer manufacturer relationship. We were selling guitars and things were going really well, and then they started releasing their pedals, and we were carrying their pedals. TMG was getting a lot of traction. They had just gone to NAMM. I believe that was early 2014. They went to NAMM and you know, kind of blowing up a little bit. We were getting a lot of sales. We probably sold 20 guitars and
wow,
4 months or 5 months. So it was going. It was awesome. It was a lot of guitars, and So that's kind of how it started. Relationship was normal.
Just to throw this out there, I mean, 20 guitars doesn't sound like a ton, but when you're talking about, it's a $3,000 or so guitar, like that's a pretty big purchase. Like that's not, it's not Guitar Center selling 20 Squier Strats a day situation.
Yeah. And honestly, some of that might have been attributed to, I developed pretty unique relationships with my manufacturers. So we kind of try to push a little bit for a little bit of favoritism. So they kind of push clients our way and give us opportunity to sell to guys that are already, into the product and things like that. So they were sending us some referrals, and that was helping. Right. And we were doing advertising and kind of pushing it. And the clients were really happy with the product, really, really happy with the product. And so then when I started to notice the rumblings, I got an email from a client. He's the guy that posted the first gear page post. His name is Clown, or CLWN, on the gear page. And he posted about having a drive pedal that was popping, and he was having issues with customer service. And so he sent me a notice like, hey dude, like, I didn't buy this from you, but I know you're a really reputable dealer. And he was kind of letting me know what was going on, and because he was kind of fed up with his personal customer experience with TMG. And so
gotcha.
This is my first time I got involved even publicly, like with anything. I jumped on the gear page without even talking to Taylor or anyone at Taylor McGrath Guitars, and I was just like, hey, how about I mediate this, since I'm a dealer? Anyone who has a problem, because I noticed there were a couple other people on there that had problems with their overdrive pedals, and I was like, I can be a middleman, and anyone who has a problem with their pedal, I'll help facilitate, reconciliation. And
right.
So that was kind of like the first rumblings, and that was the beginning of the crazy threads. And then I didn't really pay attention to it after that, or watch it, because TMG, or Taylor McGrath Guitars, said they were taking care of it. And, I was kind of communicating with those couple guys on an individual level. And then where the trouble started actually for me a little bit was, we had 4 custom guitars that were ordered by 4 clients in a band out of they're near Vancouver, BC, and they ordered 4 custom guitars in May of 2014, and
right.
I was called in June saying Antonio and company told me that the guitars were finished. Hey, can we charge your credit card? And I said, sure. So I called my clients and I was like, hey guys, your guitars are finished. They're going to be ready to ship next week. Everyone was super stoked. They sent me 4 custom guitars. They sent me $12,000. I sent, TMG a bunch of money. And the next week came around, nothing shipped. The next week came around, nothing shipped. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And like, my clients are calling me, hey, what's going on? And this is kind of the start of the where I began to experience the the bad side of TMG, I guess. So I called up Taylor McGrath Guitars, and I was like, hey, like, what's going on? Where are my guitars? My clients are, getting pissed. I'm getting pissed. And surprisingly, Taylor owned up to lying to me about the guitars being ready. They weren't even built. They didn't even They didn't even start them. And
whoa,
I was like, what the hell? So I was pretty upset. But then he's kind of sharing with me his struggles with TMG, and he kind of just opens up about Taylor McGrath Guitars getting sued in Australia, and them having, struggles there with customs and Fender guitar companies suing them, then them moving to the US, and that was really expensive, and the drive having its issue. So he kind of opens up to me about all this stuff, and I had already kind of I mentored him a little bit with handling the customer service issues with the drive when I stepped in May a little bit. And so we began talking, and he was like, hey, why don't you invest in TMG? And this was my timeline might be a little bit off, but I believe this was around July 2014. And we dialogued a little bit about it, and I was like, honestly, dude, I am invested. You owe me 4 guitars. And
absolutely.
So I was like, I'm not invested. I'm not interested in really putting any money in. And then he kept kind of throwing numbers out there, like, hey, why don't you invest $50,000 and we'll give you 30% of the brand, and you help us turn it around. And so we would talk about it, and I'd kind of push back a little, not really being interested, but then also I'm an entrepreneur, and I love the industry, and I love business, and so I was a little bit intrigued. And so we kind of talked about it a little bit more, and finally got to the point where we had this conversation one night, and it was really late into the night. We talked for like 3 hours, and he was like, this is what I want to do with the brand. And they were all really, honestly, really beautiful things. Like, he wanted to give to charity and do all of these things. And I was like, well, what about these customers? Like, and he's like, well, I want to make right with these customers, and I want to do the right thing. And he kind of was just like, hey, we're really struggling. He was talking to Shane, and finally got down to the point where, like, hey, we will give you 33% of the company just to fix the mess, and help us not fail. And so we kind of talked about it a little bit, and he was like, I just want you to take care of Shane, because he's worked really hard and he hasn't gotten anything, and he's trying to, get married. And so in my heart, that's what I was going to do. I was going to, hopefully get Shane a little bit of money to take care of his family, starting a new family and different things like that. So that was kind of the idea. And then we kind of talked about some things, and they're like, we'll come down to LA and we'll meet, because I'd never met him before. And so I book a ticket, I go down, and it was just for a day, and I show up, and they're really shocked because I'm really young. I'm only 26 years old, and at the time, no, I'm still 26. So I was only 26 years old. They were really, really shocked. They're like, dude, I thought you were like 45. It's some old dude. And that was like the first reaction. And then so then I meet Shane, I meet Taylor, and everyone's like really friendly. I meet Josh Williams, who was building their acoustics and had some big dreams for building some stuff in house, and he was really cool, and he does great work. And I got to watch them assemble 5 to 6 guitars right there. That all 3 guys working. Shane was wiring harnesses, and Taylor they had just gotten their cashmeres in, so like which is the Les Paul line. So they're really inspired, and so I'm inspired because their new model is just like coming to completion right there before their eyes. And I stayed one night, and they worked way late in the night till like 5 a.m, and I was like sleeping on the couch, and it was just really cool. I took a picture. The lighting was cool. Taylor had the place decked out. He spent a lot of money on decking the place out rather than money on making sure the business was okay. So that was probably one of the pitfalls. The shop was really cool, and so I was inspired. Everything looked good, and I I leave, we say goodbye, everything's awesome, and then I miss my flight, and so I come back and stay a whole nother night, and I'm sitting there watching Shane wire harnesses, and I'm asking him questions, and I'm kind of talking to Taylor about his vision for the business, and getting to know Josh a little bit, and I got to meet Jeremy Talbot. He's the guy with the 56 Les Paul. He wrote about Taylor. That guy.
Yeah.
So I got to meet him for the first time, and then I got to meet Carlos Alamazon, which he's a big time awesome supporter of Rogue Guitar Shop, and he had a really special TMG built for him, and he had a bad experience with another builder, and so he came out, and Taylor McGrath Guitars was delivering his guitar that night, and so he brought some guitars over that he had gotten from another builder, and he kind of was showing us those guitars, and they were not very cool, and he wasn't really happy with them, and so he gets presented his TMG, and he's like moved to tears. Like it was a really cool experience. So I go down there, I meet all these guys, they're like making people, cry over their beautiful guitar, and like they're super stoked about new stuff coming out, and so in the back of my mind, I'm kind of not worried about everything seems legit, right?
Yeah, it's a really great presentation.
Everything seems super legit. Everything seems on the up and up, just that they had some struggles. Sure. Namely, they got sued by Fender, bad customer service because they're just musicians building guitars.
Yeah, I mean, every new company kind of goes through stuff. So when you hear about that stuff going on, you don't think like there's anything else going on. That's just normal kind of stuff.
Yeah. So everything's on the up and up. Looks awesome. There was one red flag at that point that came up, and this was kind of crazy. And when I was about to leave the second day, this guy shows up, and he's like banging on the door, and we're like, who the heck is that? That's what I was like. But this guy comes in, and his name is Patty. He's the electrician that built out the shop, or helped build out the shop, or he's the plumber, and he's owed money.
Oh, okay. He's
owed a lot of money, and he's still owed money. And
of course,
he's pissed, and I'm like, I don't know what this guy's gonna punch Taylor in the face, and they're like shouting, and I'm standing there, and Shane's standing there, and we're like kind of like, what's going on? And Taylor and him are like, kind of talking about stuff, and I kind of just was like, hey, I tried to mediate the situation again, and this is kind of might be where I have a fault in this whole situation. Was like I kept getting involved, like trying to help reconcile a relationship, and so they.
Well, I mean, you're on the hook. You're on the hook for a bunch of money. It's part of it is you want to see people succeed, but also you're on the hook for a bunch of money.
Yeah. So at that point, I was owed 4 guitars, and I had paid for 3 more builds at that point. So I was owed 7 guitars by TMG. So the 4 customs that I was lied about, and then 3 new ones: a Nigel, a bass, and a Ronnie Scott. And the timetable actually on those guitars might be a little off. It might be a little bit after that I'm owed a couple of those. But I was owed a couple guitars.
Sure.
And so everything looks good. This guy comes, and Taylor smooths it over and gives him some collateral. And it should have been kind of a red flag. There were a couple red flags, but it all seemed like stuff that could be handled with proper business practices. And so I went home, and I talked to my wife about it, and everything was good. And Shane and Taylor had made plans to come and visit the next week or 2 weeks after, and they're like, yeah, we're going to get tickets, we're going to be there, and they didn't show up. And then the next week they're like, yeah, we're we're going to be there, and because they were going to come to my turf and meet with me again and kind of just, you know, further solidify things, because nothing was solid at this point. Right. We had just kind of been talking, and then all of a sudden I get a call, and Shane has left the company, and
oh, great.
There was internal, you know, conflict, and that's personal stuff between, you know, family and different things like that. But and Shane saw some things that he wasn't cool with, and so I didn't really have a clear picture of what was going on. But for me, from a business mind, I really wanted Shane to be involved, because he was a good guy. He was legacy. He helped start the brand, but I didn't necessarily. Okay, so this thought came in my mind when Taylor, they called this. So this was what happened. They called me up and said, "Hey, Shane wants to go back to Australia, and because his fiance is putting pressure on him." And I was like, "Well, I'm not comfortable being in business with someone that's 9,000 miles away, or whatever the distance is."
Yeah.
And that's when crap hit the fan, because him and Shane had a dispute about it, and then other things came out, and then Shane was just done. And so Shane's out of the picture. 2 weeks later, Taylor comes up and visits for a week. My mom flies out to help kind of mediate the situation, because she's someone I really respect in business, and kind of can clearly bring out the facts so that everyone's on the same page, and help, you know, be a neutral party, even though she's my mom. But she was neutral, looking at both parties' interests and making sure things were clearly set. So Antonio comes up, and this is like, you know, he's with my family and my friends, and seems like a cool dude. He's a cool hang, and honestly, like, he is the best cook I have ever experienced in my life.
Wow. Well, so he's got that going for him.
So Antonio Taylor comes up the bend, and everything's super awesome, and he kind of we kind of question him on some things, and he you know, different gear page threads and concerns, and he owns up to, you know, the debate about his credentials, and, you know, telling customers one thing and another thing happening, and he expresses a lot of remorse for how he handled things, and you know, he talks about wanting to do the right thing and making customers whole, and you know, that he believes in the brand and he believes in the product, and a lot of really compelling things about really cool artists. So things that are kind of intriguing, little things that kind of make you a little starstruck, like, you know, there's legit guitar players playing TMG, and so there's just some really intriguing things. So this is where it comes down to the why. Why did Jonathan get involved in TMG? So up to this point, I've you know, seen things seem remotely legit but need guidance in the business realm, and then I'm owed money. I'm owed guitars, and then he asks for help. Says, "Hey, like, I believe in this thing passionately, and this is my dream, and I want to do the right thing, and I want to make people whole, and I failed. Can you please help me?" So the three, and then, like, I'm inspired by the product. Always had a good experience with the product. So three things: like, I was invested, I was compelled to help people, customers, and the company and the owners of the company, and then I was inspired by the product. And so this is what gets me to say yes. And at that point, we kind of talk about the status of the business. Where's the business at? And it was my understanding that the business was only at 10 back orders at that time. And so that was what was conveyed to me. And so I was like, we can handle that. That's easy. I can deal with 10 guitars. That's a lot. That's a lot of cash worth of guitars. But it's something that we can handle. Rebuilding a distressed brand, that is, we can turn this around. And so he goes back home and he starts to prepare the shop and gets everything, situated in LA. And a week and a half later, I fly down, rent a U-Haul. We pack up the entire shop in a day. We say bye to some people. I meet a couple dealers and we drive back from LA 14 hours to Bend in a U-Haul. And it was a good time. I got to know Taylor a little bit, just on a friendship level, and that he again seemed like a really cool dude to hang out with, and was had good conversation and seemed like he had a lot of life experience. And I mean, yeah. So we get to Bend, and this is a lot's going on. It's a really exciting time for Rogue Guitar Shop. We're buying a new building, so we're in the process of buying a 8,400 square foot building for Rogue Guitar Shop, and TMG is going to have space in it, and Taylor's building in the Rogue Guitar Shop kitchen, building guitars, and the first week, and we've sold a couple guitars, and everything seems really good, and then I get access to the emails. And I start to find back-order guitars. And I'm like, this guy wasn't written back to since June. Who is he? Oh, he's owed a guitar. So that's 11 back orders. So we write his name on the board. And I'm going through. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm stumbling upon another 15 back-order guitars. So all of a sudden it doubles.
Damn.
Wow.
And I'm like, well... This isn't what you said.
Right. That's not what you signed up for.
That's a little bit more than double of 10.
Yeah. So this is more than what I expected. And so it was kind of played off a little bit. Hey, we'll deal with it. We've got, TMG assets. So I had, a couple guitars and some amps that we were going to sell to pay for these back orders and different things. But at that point, I had invested, Taylor and I had an agreement that I would lend $20,000 to TMG to help fund everything. So it'd give us a couple guitars to, we would start to take care of a couple of the back orders, and then it'd give us guitars to sell to dealers to make some money. Right. And that was kind of the plan. And so that was what I did first week. Bam, buy, order a bunch of bridges and tons of pickups from Slider. But then I found out that Slider was owed $10,000 or a figure. He was owed a lot. So, I paid him $10,000 and he was owed $7,000 or something like that. I don't recall the exact figures, but there was just a lot of surprises financially that were not necessarily disclosed, and so all of a sudden the pressure starts to mount, and things aren't what they seem, and by 2 months in, people find out that I'm involved. It gets out there because I wanted to keep it, not that I didn't want people to know that I was involved. I just I wanted to have a track record of success before I publicly announced it. And that takes time. Sure, I wanted to start delivering back-order guitars. I wanted to start repairing relationships and different things like that. And people started to find out I was involved. It got on the gear page, and then all of a sudden, I'm getting calls every day by people. Hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't. This is my experience. You're crazy. This is my experience. This is a bad experience I had, and dozens of people. And I am already in it. I am already owed now 8 guitars at that time and $20,000 or $30,000, because by the end I invested $50,000, and on top of that, Rogue Guitar Shop is owed 8 guitars. So my personal and Rogue Guitar Shop are both owed a significant amount of money, and so and I have I've been compelled by the other business owner to help him do the right thing. And so I'm thinking I'm helping him do the right thing this whole time. And so it just kind of gets into a messy situation, and things are kind of turning really, really dark when I'm involved. Nothing new negative has happened, mind you, but I'm finding out about all of the deep secrets of TMG that weren't disclosed to me, and it was
you're finding all the skeletons in the closet.
Yeah,
everything that was swept under the rug, and all the bills that weren't paid, and
lots of bills that weren't paid. and it it comes to the point where like there's 40 back ordered guitars.
Whoa.
And
40?
Yes. Roughly that, maybe a little less, but and we're taking care of some at the time, and I've taken care of a lot, and Taylor helps take care of a lot, and it kind of just got to the point where like Taylor and I's relationship struggled a lot because I'm hearing all of these things from people, but then I'm hearing stuff from him, but he's here, and my only option is to continue and make this work, because I am now I'm in it. And so there were a couple key things that were like the kind of the darkest points, and that was in kind of early October. One of our artists called, and I was like working really hard to just make sure his reputation was protected and to turn the brand's reputation around. So I was working super hard for this guy, and he's like, hey, like I have people harassing me on my Instagram, and I mean
the internet really took off with the drama.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if Ryan follows it as closely, but I think I have an idea which artist you're talking about.
Yeah.
But so I think most people who listen to our program probably know.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Maybe I don't want to mention his name because I respect him a lot. And
sure.
Him and I are really cool, but so for me, he's a pillar. There's 2 artists that are pillars for TMG. These guys I'm fighting for, and one of them calls and is like, hey, like people are harassing me on Instagram. I'm like trying to have a show, and there's guys coming on my Instagram saying, hey, don't support this guy, he supports TMG, and all this dark stuff starts happening. There's this fraud blog with pictures of my family, and like my family, not Taylor's. They're going after me now. And so it got really dark, and this artist was like, hey, I really appreciate everything you've done, but I can't be a part of this anymore. So I'm out. And I was like, hey, can you just give me 3 weeks to try and make this work? And so he's like, I'm going to give you 3 weeks and not say anything. And so he calls me in 3 weeks. And so this is like the dark time, like this month. And he calls me back and is like, hey, dude, I made my final decision. I'm out. And this was like a low point for me and Taylor. Like, hey, like, this is like, why are we even here? And and then 2 weeks later, that artist calls back, and he's like, hey, I just had a life-changing experience, and I want to help you guys. I've had a complete change of heart, and I believe in the brand. I believe in the guitars. I believe that, they're really great instruments, and I want to help. And So this is like when things like kind of reboot a little bit for everything. And we're really encouraged, and we have an opportunity. He gives us an opportunity to build a guitar for one of his friends that's really badass. And so we're like ultra stoked. We get to build this guitar for this really cool artist, and things are looking up. Like the worst came out, and I'm kind of, I'm a little fried at Taylor because all the crap that I've gone through, but I'm really forgiving, and maybe foolishly forgiving, but again, Taylor is pleading for the opportunity to do the right thing, and all through this, he wants to make sure he's all about his heart, at least he conveys that he wants to do the right thing. And so good times, and we deliver this guitar, 2 guitars to these artists, and one is a gift to one artist, and one is an exact replica. And we deliver them on Thanksgiving, and he calls and says, "Hey, dude, this is super inspirational. I really appreciate it." And so this is like high times. Everything's awesome. And then this is Thanksgiving week, and then Taylor is starting to express that he wants to be back in LA. And so this is kind of when things like start to unravel.
Right.
As far as like the business.
Did he want to move he wanted to move the shop back to LA?
He wanted to go back and build in LA. And I was like,
okay.
I wasn't cool with it. And so for me, like there were a lot of really concerning things that I observed that had happened in the past that I had to deal with, but there was not a lot of concerning things apart from being misled about the back orders that happened while we were together.
Gotcha. You kind of had him under supervision.
I controlled everything. I controlled all the finances, all the relationships. Taylor just built guitars, and he focused on that. And so
at this point, how caught up were you on back orders?
We had probably delivered 10 or 15 of them. And
so that's some pretty good progress.
And we had sold another probably 10 new ones, and we're beginning to deliver those. And I don't know the exact number, but things were moving forward. It was a struggle, and but everything was like looking good at the point, and then Taylor was like, "I'm not really stoked here. My life is in LA." He had other things that were attracting him towards LA, and I wasn't cool with doing business with him when he's 900 miles away. I could handle micromanaging and making sure that everything, maybe not micromanage, but managing everything right in front of my eyes. And having control over everything here, based on the reputation of the company in the past, he needed to be here to be accountable. And so at that point, I was like, dude, I didn't agree to that. I agreed to you being here and working with me, and there was a compelling argument to try to get him to stay. And the reason why I tried to get him to stay was because he said he wanted to do the right thing. And if he was going to leave, he would be going against that, and he would be putting me in a position that really sucked. He's essentially dumping all this stuff on me, and I didn't like that. And so we kind of went back and forth, hey, spend a week down there, work 3 weeks here. But, I tried to be flexible, but I had to stick to the principles. Like, hey, like the business is here. I'm running the business because we're trying to turn this around, trying to do things in a way that, redeems the brand's reputation, and you being down there is not going to do that. And finally he was like, the pressure is too great. I don't want to be involved. And he left, and that was December 6th, I believe, and we signed a contract and firmed everything up in January, and this is where like things start to look really good.
Gotcha. So that's this year? January this year?
That carries into 2015.
Gotcha.
So he is gone in December, and we part ways, and then Christmas rolls around. So I switch back to kind of focusing on Rogue a little bit because Christmas is insane. And so I'm, we kind of, in the meantime, Taylor was planning his exit. Like he was, finding the local builders and like guys that were legit at building guitars. And we ended up landing with a guy that is really incredible. His name's Seth, and he worked with Gibson Custom Shop for 3 or 4 years. And then he worked with Robert Benedetto at Benedetto Acoustics, which you go check them out. They make legit guitars. And then Seth moved out here because his childhood sweetheart was here. And so he began working for Breedlove and Weber Instruments, I believe, and which is local. And so there's lots of builder talent locally here because of Breedlove. And so Seth started the Monday after Christmas. And so this is when I get back into pushing TMG and getting things rebooted. And he starts, and I just everything's here. It's been ready. A bunch of necks have been ready for weeks and weeks because Taylor and I were dealing with our stuff, and Seth busts balls and gets 8 guitars done in 2 weeks. And
wow.
I was ultra impressed. I went on a little family vacation. I came back and they were all ready. And I'm like, dang, dude, like, you are amazing. I would have, never experienced this prior.
Right. This was the new builders?
Yeah, this was the new builder. And so that week, which was January 15th, I was like, we have 10 guitars here. They were meant to be built for dealers to sell, and a couple of them were back orders that I was going to deliver. And the week after that was NAMM. And I was like, I'm going down to NAMM for Rogue Guitar Shop. This is my only opportunity. Like, I need to take these guitars and show them off. And it was kind of a scary thought process. Like, am I going to get punched in the face by somebody?
Yeah, totally.
Or because there's a lot of hostility still, and I hadn't told anyone that Taylor was gone, and there's a lot of reasons why I haven't spoken out about my experience, and I'm not even sharing the whole story. But
of course,
there's some different legal things and timing, and I needed to have a game plan and systems in place, and in time everything will get out there. I might maybe write a book or something, but because this is this is movie worthy, everyone knows that. And
Ryan actually is he has his own like film company. So
oh my gosh. Yeah, let's make a movie of it.
you're gonna be the guy that puts the saga to film. Cool.
Oh man.
But
well, it sounds like things have very recently turned around. Like Steve and I were at NAMM, and we were honestly like really surprised. Like, okay, we're seeing TMG guitars at all these booths here. What is going on? Because the last we had heard was all the internet gossip that no one was getting any guitars.
Yeah, I had heard rumors that TMG was going to be at NAMM and that you were going to be there.
Yeah.
Kind of through just different Facebook groups. But being at NAMM and walking around and seeing the number of booths that that had TMG guitars like in the booths, and the number of like demo like guys that do demos, exhibitors that were playing TMGs like in for different builders and stuff was really kind of surprising for us.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of relationships and through Rogue, and I kind of just talked to some guys, and I was just like, hey, I'm the new owner. This brand has a bad history, but I'm rebranding and I'm working. I will fully disclose, hey, like somebody comes up to you and says, something negative, like feel free to just, give them my number, or just tell them, hey, it's under new ownership, which it was. I know I had been involved for 4 or 5 months before that, but it's important to clearly point out that from my involvement on, there's been no negative. There's still guys that haven't got guitars, and it's just murky waters to navigate. And I'm working really hard for those people, and I'm advocating for them, and it's just a tough situation. Other people owe those guitars, and but I'm doing my best to advocate for them, and some of them are getting delivered in time, and they will all eventually be delivered. And but NAMM was super cool. Like I got guitars in a bunch of booths, and there was no negative interactions. I was able to meet with a bunch of the artists and a bunch of the regular buyers, and some guys that had really bad experiences, some guys that had even shared their experiences on the gear page. And I was able to, be all, in that moment. So before I went down to NAMM, that whole week, I was like, the week before, actually, the Friday before I went, so we laser engrave our necks. And so the company used to be Taylor McGrath Guitars. And so, I rebranded it to TMG Guitar Company, and I chose not to abandon the whole brand as a whole, because there are a lot of guys who have invested in the brand, who have bought guitars, and if I were to just start Jonathan Guitar Company or whatever, all of those guys would be forgotten. All the guys that have back orders would just be kind of left,
yeah, totally
left in the dust or anything like that. But so, go ahead.
I think it's really bold what you're doing, and I think it's smart too, because the name is already out there.
Yes.
And even though that there's a lot of bad press around it, you're kind of working through a redemption story, and that's going to end up being out there. So
yeah, definitely.
In the end, it sounds like you're already running a business. You already, I've never heard anything bad about Rogue Guitar Shop. It sounds like you already run things on the up and up, so that's what people can expect from TMG from now on, basically. Yeah,
definitely. All businesses make mistakes here and there. It's just how you handle them after you make a mistake.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
And for me, like I actually like I'm not managing Rogue anymore, and this is kind of a crazy thing, because Rogue is like a little bit, it's like my baby. Like I worked my ass off for that company, and I'm kind of transitioning out of it and really focusing on TMG, because I'm super passionate about the one-on-one relationship that I'm having with people. Like I get to build a guitar for one guy and inspire one person and give them the best experience I possibly can give them, and at the same time, I'm rewriting the story. It's a very challenging. It's been emotionally challenging. It's even been like borderline traumatizing at times. This experience, but the reward of rewriting someone's experience, and it's hard, and it's on an individual basis with these people, but the reward of rewriting the story and then building a new legacy with the brand is really exciting for me.
Yeah, I think it's a great story. As far as is Taylor still involved in any way, or is it just 100% you guys now?
Yeah, he's not involved in any capacity.
In it?
None of the owners are involved in any capacity.
Gotcha. Is he still like a financial owner of the brand or anything like that, or?
He is not. He
Wow.
Yeah, he has. It's actually a completely new company, so it's now TMG Guitar Company LLC, which I personally purchased the assets of Taylor McGrath guitars, and I
Gotcha.
And now TMG Guitar Company owns those assets, so the branding and everything, and it's completely separate. And the only time that I communicate with Taylor is when I notify him of a claim that he has, or truthfully, he's been very helpful in the process of like transitioning. As weird as that is, like I don't talk to him. I haven't talked to him in like months, apart from once or twice to notify him of some things. But
It just kind of sounds like and Ryan and I have known some guys like this just here and there and everywhere where, there's some guys that are really cool to hang out with that sometimes they get overwhelmed, and instead of when they get overwhelmed stopping and saying, hey, I'm overwhelmed, I need to stop now, like they just kind of let things pile up, and then that's when things get out of control.
Yeah, I think that there were definitely some some points in the brand's history where the owners, all of them, could have really taken a good look at things and done things differently. And and the reason why I'm hurt by the situation, and I feel let down by how things went down. But I still believe that those guys wanted to do the right thing. They just might not have been capable of doing it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird to think that with all the history and knowledge out there, but
like the heart was there. They just didn't have the ability to deal with the size of what they had gotten themselves into, and so I think it got out of control.
I guess where
the train was off the rails.
A little bit of evidence of that was asking me to help. Hey, help. So in the beginning, back in July, when they approached me saying, "Hey, we have a problem and we need help," I don't think that they outright tried to fraud people or anything like that, but things just were not done in a way that business should be done, and really let a lot of people down. Overpromised, underdelivered, and
it kind of reminds you of a lot of things that go down kind of in other businesses, like the tech world or investment worlds or something like that, where someone does a startup and they get a lot of attention and a lot of money goes into things that aren't important, and then they never deliver and the whole thing kind of collapses. But thankfully, you were around to kind of, even though it really sucked for you, I'm sure in a lot of parts, it's great that you were able to kind of save this brand. The people that I've talked to who get these guitars are very excited about the product. They're really excited about the guitars. The people who are playing them in NAMM seemed really happy about them. I personally haven't gotten to touch one yet. It sounds like you are planning on sending us one to kind of do a review of.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. Is there anything, now that it's being built by different guys, is there anything that's changed with the guitars, or is it basically the same sort of thing?
A lot of the process is the same. I'm just refining it and doing it better. So there's a lot of little nuances that needed to be addressed that help the overall quality of the guitars. How the nut was cut, and different setup things, and stuff like that. But I'll give it to Taylor and Shane. They built a product that was really, they at the end, they built a product that was really inspiring.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. And, there might be a few cases out there where a couple guitars were, not good. And I'm working with those guys from way back when, and fixing up their guitars to re-inspire them. I'm all about changing people's experiences. So I was talking to a guy today who has a bass, and I had never heard of this customer. So all of a sudden, somehow I get access to a new email database, and I find all these stories and people. And so today was one of those days. I got into Shane's old email, and I was skimming through. There's 1,200 emails here, but skimming through, and I found this guy, and he kind of was like, "Hey, I've been waiting 8 months." And I was like, "Oh no, is this another guy who hasn't got a guitar?" And I reached out to him, and he got his bass, and he was super cool. And he was like, overall, I didn't have the best experience, but I got my guitar, and honestly, like, my friends have really great guitars, but mine is a little funky. And so today we're working on making that guitar inspiring. And
gotcha.
So bringing it back, and it might have been back in the day when they were using different pickups or something. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. It sounds like you're the right guy to kind of turn something like this around. It sounds like you really have your heart in setting things right when they're wrong. So I think that's probably just what people want to hear if they're interested in the brand at all or interested in what's going on.
Definitely.
And, I'm really glad that we got to talk to you about this. This is probably going to be our Monday episode, right, Steve?
Hopefully, yeah. If we can get it all smashed together and everything.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're going to have to do too many edits or anything here. So everyone, thanks for listening. I don't think we have anything left to talk about. That's pretty much it, right?
So what's I know Rogue has the three guitars out right now. The Gatton, like just listed on the site. You've got the Gatton, the Ronnie Scott, and then what's the third one?
Yeah. So our guitars are the Dover, which is an S style, the Gatton, which is a T style, and the Ronnie Scott, which is a JM style. And those are our primary guitar types. And then we kind of have a little bit of an exclusive LP model. It's just super expensive, kind of ultra high end LP, kind of limited. I'll only talk to you about it if you're really cool.
Gotcha.
Because it's really expensive. It has Brazilian rosewood and ebony and pearl inlays, and it's just $400 pickups and a $350 custom case, and like it's So our primary lines,
top shelf stuff.
Yeah. Basically, TMG is. We're all about capturing the essence of the 50s and 60s guitar, and that vintage vibe. Those are really expensive guitars, the real thing. But we want to kind of try to capture all that mojo, magic, for an affordable price that inspires musicians. So
awesome.
All right, sounds great. Definitely, I know I'm looking forward to whatever you end up sending out to us to demo. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll do some demos of that and plug it into some amps and some pedals and have some fun with it, and talk about it on the show for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for the opportunity to talk with you guys. And if you guys or anyone else has any questions in the future, we're launching a new website, TMG Guitar Co.com, and my contact information will be there. My personal contact information will be there. And
awesome.
And anyone reach out, including you guys, if anything comes up, and would love to chat again.
For sure. This was fun.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's call it the end of the show here. Thanks for listening, guys. Sorry we didn't have a normal episode for you here, but guess what? We get to do whatever we want because we run the show. And I think this is a really cool thing that we get to do, is to talk to people in the industry. So see you guys next week. We don't have a song, right, Steve?
I don't think so. Which national anthem are you going to roll with?
I'll pick something. I don't know. Maybe I'll pick like a European country this time. We'll do a national anthem for sure.
Okay.
All right. See you guys later. This has been Ryan.
And Steve.
And Jonathan.
Hey, and Jonathan.
All right. See you guys next week.
See ya.